Cam Jordan, after the 49ers Saints game. Now, I know in this interview, Cam talks about the 49ers kind of taking over the stadium, the Superdome, which is what I wanted to really see. I'm also interested to see what Cam is going to say about third down, because third down was such a big deal in this game and has been this season. Usually, sometimes you can get siloed in like recapping and reviewing games. It's with just analysts, but it's good to go into the locker room and see what the players are thinking, how they're feeling, some of their reactions. What a shirt Cam's got here. I need to get me one of them.
Kind of click you on that.
Yeah, no, they did what we wanted. They did what we didn't want them to do. They got the ball out fast. They're able to complete reads, and that's just it. We knew he was going to get the ball out fast. You got to be able to, tackle him in front of the first down marker.
What I'll say about Mac Jones, too, I'll give him some credit. He made a lot of plays. Like, there was a lot of times, I know one in particular, it was like this play action, like reverse bootleg thing that was getting blown up. And Mac kind of threw his hips around and found, I think it was Juwan Jennings, for like a 5-yard gain. And stuff like that, that is a real difference maker. And when you're playing a quote-unquote bad quarterback or a backup quarterback or whatever, you don't assume they're going to make those plays. You assume they're just going to make the easy plays, but anything that gets haywire, they're going to just fall apart. And Mac Jones did not do that. The only blemish was the fumble. But, I mean, he was good. And, Kyle Shanahan, he's made it work with everyone. No doubt about it. Jimmy Garoppolo, Brock Purdy, Mac Jones. It is who he is. I also thought it was interesting how willing they were to let Mac Jones kind of shoulder this game. And at certain points, it was almost like they forgot Christian McCaffrey was on the field. It's like it was just Mac Jones, Ricky Pearsall, Juwan Jennings, and whoever else.
Was because they were getting the ball out fast, is that just left
hands up? We only got one pass defense from Brazil. We knew sacks wouldn't be scarce if we couldn't make them hold the ball. I think Chris Rumph had a great possible game-changing sack strip fumble, which I was excited for him.
I mean, there was a lot of. I mean, I'll say this too. Like, there was a lot of times where Mac Jones was allowed to stand in the pocket like a statue. There was a lot of, especially on third down, where he had all the time in the world.
I was like, man, he's gonna start holding the ball now. He sped up his cadence. So, we have to be able to affect the quarterback. We knew we had to get him off the spot. And he was, he was able to do what happened during the game. He was able to get the ball out as fast. It was good.
Was the game plan today more just like trying to get after him with 4 and having that coverage back there because of the quick game stuff?
I think that's what it turned into. We figured once we got up, it would be a change of game, but that didn't happen. We ended up letting the 26 points on that one big explosive play at the end, which you could have it back, but you can't get those back.
Yeah, I mean, the explosive play to Juwan Jennings, kind of a weird situation. I don't know if Pete Warner didn't see the ball or were lost in the lights or whatever. And then the end of the half touchdown, like those were the two situations where the defense just can't have those, and unfortunately in a game like that, that's the difference maker.
Were y'all how do y'all take 0-2 with 2 competitive games, tight games? Does it matter at 0-2?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it matters that they were closer within reach. We were never out of it. And at the same time, you gotta. It's a game of inches. You have to be able to figure out how to finish.
Yeah,
100%. And there absolutely is something to the games being competitive. There absolutely is something to Rattler playing well, the offense moving the ball, the defense showing life on first and second down and in critical situations, like at the end of the game. There are positives. I'm not going to sit here and say, don't worry about the record, whatever, it's all good. But there is something there. There are positives to be had. There is good play happening. There's not enough good play happening inside of these games to win the games, and that needs to change. Penalties had to change in week 1. Third down defense needs to change out of week 1 and week 2. Special teams need to get cleaned up, no doubt about it, right? So there are things to work on, 100%. But this is not a situation like Carolina or Chicago where you're just getting rolled. It's not a situation like that where, and it's one of those things where you're so right, you're wrong. But even though they're 0-2, this is not the worst team in the NFL. Like, I don't think it's even close. I think you watch Miami. I think you watch Carolina. I think you watch some of these other teams. It's obvious this team has more in the tank. And, so the idea of like 0-17 tanking first overall pick, I just don't see it happening unless injuries happen, unless, the team changes and all that. But as it is right now, I just don't see the team being that bad. I think it'll be similar-ish to last year, where they'll probably end up with a 5, 6, 7 wins. You hope they take care of business against some of these bad teams. You hope some of these 50-50 games eventually go their way. There's a lot of 50-50 opponents coming up. I think games that originally we circled as losses, now it's like, well, New England's not as good as people thought they were going to be. Chicago's not as good as people thought they were going to be. And maybe the Saints are a little better than people thought they were going to be. Those games are going to be toss-ups. Like, they're going to be 50-50. I'm not going to sit here and say, we got to win those, we can win those, we should win those. But similarly to Arizona and similarly to San Francisco, really Seattle's going to be in the same boat, where they're going to be games within reach. And you got to prove at some point you can win one of these games that are close. And if the Saints can do that, they'll probably finish with one of those 5, 6, 7, 8, 8's a lot, but 5, 6, 7 wins, put you in like the 10th, somewhere in between 10 and 14. You're still in that high pick range, but you're building on something. So, there is good happening. I know it's hard to see because a lot of people just say, they just filter box score, that's it. But it's a different 0-2 than if we were just completely inept.
Were you getting like double? It looks like you were getting double. Were they doubling you?
Oh, that seemed to be the game plan. I mean, Grando was getting chipped on one side. I was, tight end, whatever, bump out. They knew that they had to slow the edges down, or at least try and make it a cleaner pocket for Mac Jones. And for whatever reason, that's what we sort of saw last game as well. You figure if the outside is getting bumped, then the inside should have a one-on-one. I think Brzee almost had a sack, and then Grando cleaned up. It's going through. I think Nathan Shepard had a good rush in the middle one time. There was a time where Mac Jones sort of bumped out, slid out through the B gap, and it seemed like I was walled off there. So until we watch film, we won't exactly have a formulated game plan on how to counteract that. But I think that there was opportunity that we've left out on the field.
I was gonna say, were you kind of surprised that he was clean for the most part in the pocket in this game?
No, I mean, as fast as he was getting the ball out, I mean, we knew, his average time was going to be under 3.
Yeah, I mean, that's Kyle Shanahan. Like that, when you have a good coach, like they're not going to let the quarterback sit back there and just take sacks. And so, yeah, if you're going to face Sean McVay, you're going to face Kyle Shanahan, you're going to face Kevin O'Connell, they're going to make sure they're protecting their guy.
3 seconds, and I think he met that even faster, which can get frustrating for the defensive lineman. At the same time, if we can't get there, we got to be able to get our hands up at least, blur his vision a little bit, make some plays. I think in the fourth quarter, you saw the effects of that. Again, after the Brian Brzee batted pass, then you saw more hands up, then you saw some things go our way, and at the same time, we have to be able to affect the quarterback more.
Cam, what this building can be like. How frustrating was it? Was it frustrating today?
Absolutely. Man, as much as I want to be excited for Carl, but having a 2-sack game, it's like Chris Rumpf having a sack, forced fumble, we can create more. I'm always going to put on the D-line, so whatever it is, we're going to look at our interior, we're going to look at our exterior, we're going to find out as a defensive front how we can get better from this, and then we'll work on whatever else.
Got to be better on third down. I mean, 100%. You got to be better getting after the quarterback and stopping on third down. And I think if that gets cleaned up, this is not an elite or good or whatever defensive unit right now. But if they can clean up even just the third downs and be this like bend, don't break defense, that's fine. But you can't be a bend, don't break defense that breaks.
Was the turf as big of an issue? Does it look like the slipperiness? It looked like a lot of.
There was a couple slips. And I'm not sure why or how that came to be. Tested it out pregame, and it was sort of slippery towards our end zone.
Interesting. I saw Nick tweeted about this, that this is like a thing. And we talked about it in the recap. And we were saying, like, I don't know, it just seems like there's a lot of slipping. Seems like something's going on. And Nick tweeted, like, yeah, there is something going on with the turf, and it's going to get fixed, or they know they have to fix it or whatever. So it looked like players were slipping because they were slipping. Crazy that's something that's happening, but it's happening.
And I'm not sure why. We normally have the best turf in the game.
Yeah, I don't know.
But there's no excuses to that. At the end of the day, we didn't capitalize on every opportunity we had presented.
So it wasn't slippery last week, but it was this week?
It was a little slippery this week. I'm not here for excuses. I'm just, from observation purposes, sure. If that's the excuse that we're going to rely on, fine. But no, at the end of the day, we got to be able to figure out how to close these games.
Again, what I was asking earlier, more about just the volume of 49ers fans that were in here. Was that surprising to you?
Yeah, didn't like it. Didn't like the noise coming from them.
It is weird. I'll say that. Like, it's even weird as a fan when there's so many opposing fans, and it's just it's a weird vibe because like normally when they show stuff on the jumbotron or good things happen, you hear a cheer. When bad things happen, you hear a boo, whatever. But when it gets inverted like that, you don't know what's going on. Like, I didn't know if kicks were being made, if flags were being thrown, and what was happening because the crowd. I mean, I where I sit, I can't really see the entire dome, so I can't tell you like a tried and true 50-50 split or whatever. But where I was sitting, it was at least 50-50. And there was a ton of 49er fans in there. I know it came across a broadcast, and it was they traveled as well as any team I've ever seen travel in there. Detroit was a big one, and Pittsburgh was another big one, where those were two where it's like, damn, they're taking over this whole city. Detroit was probably the worst, but this is way, way, way up there. And even after, like when I was walking back to the dome, just a sea of red. Outside of the dome, immediately getting out of the dome, it was a sea of red, a sea of 49er jerseys right outside the dome, just hanging out. It is a weird environment when it is a takeover like that.
Especially when the Saints Nation has been so strong for so long. One of the rare instances where you could actually hear an opposing crowd and in a loud manner. So we gotta give our team more ways to win. We gotta figure out how to give the city more hope, and hopefully this shit never happens again.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know the reason. I mean, I don't know. Like what's the reason, right? Like, it's kind of like the drops. It's kind of like the third down thing. It's like, you don't want to see it, but how do you fix it? How do you? What is it? Because people are selling their tickets? Is it because the 49ers travel well? It's a combo of both. Like, if people are already selling their tickets, week 2, it just seems like it's hard for me to believe that there's just this huge influx of people selling their tickets in week 2. So I don't know. I don't know the answer to that one, but similar to the Detroit thing, it could be a combo of just a fan base that travels well, a perfect storm type situation. But it was they were loud, especially at the end of the game. They were all about it. So there was no doubt about that. And if it's loud enough to where the players can hear it and the players are aware of it, just like with Detroit, because it was a conversation after the Detroit game, then it's loud. All right. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.